This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations. We're your co-host, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett, is coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. What a wonderful day.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, what's that listener call-in number?
1-8, why should they bother? No, 1-844-390-8255. And the reason you should bother is because our topic today is everything is consciousness.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, well, and also, but is everything sentient? And what does that mean?
Right.
And, you know, what about rocks and automobiles? And how can inanimate things be aware? And why is it useful to communicate with them? And so tune in today because we're going to give you those answers. And if you have any interesting questions along those lines or really anywhere else, or if you're having problems with rocks talking to you, and don't have a
feeling okay about it. Yeah.
Feeling okay. Call us at 844-390-8255. And it's a pretty good thing to try to get that call in the next 10 minutes or so. Once we get into heart space, we're kind of out there in unified consciousness, and it's kind of hard to locate.
Definitely. And check out our new website at www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. All our latest information is posted there, our events, our daily scribes, our blogs that we each write. So there's all kinds, and Joan's wonderful mystic musings there. So be sure and check that out regularly. And then what else do we want them to know, Joan? We got all kinds of things going on.
Yes. So slowing that down, that Conscious Conversations with JoanandJanet.com is the place to go if you want to find out more about us and all the wonderful things we have. We do also have YouTube channels, and the show is on YouTube, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and I'm on YouTube. Joan M. Newcomb is how you'll find me on YouTube. We do have a couple things coming up. I'm going to be at the Emerald Spiral Expo this weekend, which is happening in Kent, Washington. It's from 9 to 5, and I'm giving a workshop at 1 o'clock on rediscovering your purpose and regaining your passion for life. So come see us there. And that's actually, you can find how to get there and all that stuff on our website. And then our next, we had such a good conference call last Thursday. So our next one is going to be on October 20th. I highly encourage you guys to call in. So our Conscious Conference call is on Thursdays. The first, which number Thursday is it? Third Thursday. Third Thursday. Say that 3 times fast. At 7 p.m. Pacific, and that would be 10 p.m. Eastern, and it's on October 20th. You can sign up on our website or email us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com.
And you can contact either one of us through our meetups. Joan has several in the Puget Sound area. I have mine in Portland, Oregon here, Tuesday evenings or Thursday afternoons. You can check them out on meetup.com, Conscious Conversations with Janet. We have just the most, oh my gosh, everything happens, anything can happen. It's the playground for playing and checking in with where we are in life, and stuff happens. It's remarkable. So.
Yeah, I also have our meetup stuff, or my meetup stuff is on the Contact Talk Radio website as well. So you can find that in lots of different areas. I have a brand new meetup coming up this weekend in Federal Way. So I've included Federal Way, but last weekend I was in Bellevue. That was great. So Seattle, Bellevue, Federal Way, Tacoma, University Place, Lakewood, and sometimes Olympia. So you anywhere around the Puget Sound. And then online, you and I both offer services to people around the world online. I do it by phone and by Skype, and probably you do too, Janet.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. We both do sessions. So there's so many different ways to help you. I think and there's nothing wrong in your life, that you have to realize that. What's challenging you is a way for you to explore who you are. And I think that's what you and I really want to share with people, is that there are different ways one can be, and we do our best to help you experience that for yourself. I've been talking with clients lately who all mention how much they appreciate having the forum to talk about in a conscious way and being present about what their life is about, and how you don't get that anywhere. But
people don't.
Here.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. People don't listen, or people don't acknowledge or talk about it on the level that you and I are talking about it.
Right.
They don't see it from the bigger perspective. Something I've been doing with people is playing a little game I call it Skybox and Goodyear Blimp. And most of us are down on the playing field. We're down on the playing field in the AstroTurf, in the mud.
Yeah.
And that's how we see our life, and we see the problems of our lives, and how different it is if you're viewing it from the Skybox or from the Goodyear Blimp.
Yeah, makes a big difference. So, all right, where are we at? We want to get into our subject. Everything is consciousness. Yeah. How true is that, man? It is.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you, as our listener, experience that? Do you think that those mechanical, inanimate objects are just there and just sitting there, or is there a relationship you have with it? You and I have had so many different experiences over the years with looking to be present, because that's the whole idea of or the experience of consciousness, is that we're just bits and pieces of information. So what we create, the machine there, is something that has consciousness present in it, and it's not dead. And you can interact with your printer sitting there that's popping out papers that you don't understand or something, and have a relationship, a different kind of relating to it. Not necessarily a relationship, close fix, a relating to it that maybe you haven't been having, and how to take the burdens of society and the things that we have, and how to work with them a little differently. What about you, John? How do you notice that?
Well, I was thinking as you're talking, my mother used to call her car Tom Bigby. It was a 1987 Chevy Nova that she had bought new, and the license plate was TBV. Uh-huh. And so she had a relationship with that car. And then I was thinking how, and it served her well for the until 2013. And the other thing I was thinking is at Findhorn, they take this to an extreme, because they will name the spoons and the mixing bowls in the kitchen and the refrigerator. So they acknowledge the sentience in all of these things. And I'm not about to call my microphone by name. Hey, Blue, but I have worked with inanimate things. I've worked with this whole idea of actually inanimate things and nature as well, which people don't always acknowledge either, for many years. And so but there's another question behind that, is that there's things that are a creation of consciousness. Everything is a creation of consciousness. So everything in that way is made up of consciousness. And yet I wouldn't necessarily say everything has its own sentience.
I think everything is vibrational. So everything is at a different vibrational resonance. And so in that awareness of the rock, for instance, or in the doll sitting on the counter that some person made or a machine made or whatever, there is a resonance that's happening. There is a vibration that's taking place. And what level of consciousness is present in that is I don't know. I do know that there is consciousness present. So how much it can interact and express itself in a way that I, human form, would recognize is, totally up for grabs. But I'm willing to look at that and go, okay, if that could talk to me, and we'll get more into this, what would it say? And
Well, that's interesting because I started thinking about the Velveteen Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the children's story of the beloved child's, Velveteen Rabbit. And it became real after, its, buttons had fallen off and it had been, the plushness had been rubbed away. And it became real through the child's love, essentially. And I do think that things like dolls and all can gain a sentience by being focused on. So,
well, we imbue it. Yes, it becomes the empowered object. So, and there's different, I can hear different discussions in this as far as, well, you're anthropomorphizing something, and you're humanizing it and you want to see it that way. And there's that conversation, but we're talking from a place of where, whoa, if you were just no boundaries or limits in how you perceive information flowing from a quantum physics, quantum mechanics level, when you are engaging as consciousness, that's the level it works at, there is no boundary. There may be form, but the form is a hologram and it's loose. And so you get to interact with it. You can interact with it. We're always interacting with it. It's just how we're choosing to interact with what that matrix looks like, seems like, feels like. And so, there's everything. Everything is created, so on some level.
Well, I like the point that you make, because when you start working on the level of consciousness, you are working, the things do become malleable. Mm-hmm. I know someone who was able to, through her concentration, manifest a garden trowel. Now, if she got distracted, she'd manifest it, several yards away when her intention was to have it within reach. So that's kind of a level of manifestation that's a little bit beyond my reach. But yes, so actually, we're about to go to a commercial break. Did you want to give some people instructions now, or do you want to tell them the special thing to do after this?
Well, let's do it afterwards. But right now, just start thinking about something mechanical or non-animate, inanimate in your world, and that you have an issue with. Right? It could be the hose that always kinks and you trip over. It could be the rock. It could be, I don't know what it might be.
Could it be the battery in my laptop?
It could be the battery in your laptop.
My laptop.
Anything. And we're going to play this game. So just notice now how you feel that you might have a conversation with that. Register that awareness. And then when we come back and we go into heart space, in a field of unified consciousness where there is no difference between you and that battery, we'll see what that feels like and if there's a conversation there that you can have. So join us after break. We'll have some fun.
So you are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and stay tuned. We'll be talking about everything is consciousness when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to Joan-Newcomb.com. That's Joan-Newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and I'm your host, Joan. I'm along here with Janet, and we are talking about everything is consciousness.
Doesn't matter what it looks like, people. Doesn't matter what it feels like. Doesn't matter at all. There is awareness on some level present. So the idea is that if that's true, that you can interact with it and not be totally crazy. And we'll get out of those words right off the bat. What we're doing is we're allowing for, they call it neuroplasticity in the brain. We're just going to play with allowing things to be and to be real, seemingly real, in an unreal sort of way. So, we ready to do that, you think, Joan? We'll just get into heart and go for it?
Neuroplasticity, I can tell you watch PBS.
Yeah, it's a great word. Okay, everyone. So let's see what shows up for us today. So take a moment and just let that part of you that can follow along. And since we're on live in the mornings, you may be hearing this in the evenings. You may be hearing this at a different day, a different time, or at late at night. So just wherever you are, just allow yourself to have a sense of relaxation. Raise the shoulders up, drop the shoulders, and as the shoulders drop down, just allow yourself to go farther than you think you're going to go. So it's always interesting to see how this starts off. And bring your awareness to your physical heart. We can start there. Physical heart. And be grateful that it's beating. See if you can feel the beat of it, hear it, sense it in some way. And allow for gratitude and appreciation that it's present and beating. And if you're not so aware of it, that's fine too. Don't judge that. Just allow yourself to go, oh, if I could feel you, I would be appreciative. I am appreciative. So just go to that place. And then the second meaning of heart is the emotional terrain. So just notice that in some way. We are emotional creatures. It adds the flavor to life. And so what it would be like to feel okay about being emotional. That doesn't mean acting out and hysterical. That just means having flavors of noticing stuff. So from a neutral place, notice how many you have running or not, but what seems to be present. Notice it as a color, notice it as a form, notice it as a sound, however you want to notice it. There you go. And then we come to the third meaning of heart, which is the core essence of all. And this is the field of unified consciousness, 0 point field, universe, God, whatever your label is that you're comfortable with. And it is the field, the infinite sea of potential. And notice it that way. Feel it as the water. And this is where you and I, we are all one. Where the objects in our world are one with us. And we see them as just this collection of photons, light photons, biophotons that have a little bit of mass to them. frequencies, resonances, vibrations, and then you have the information that's in our stories, in our patterns, and all of this wonderful mix of information that falls into patterns and holds resonances, and it's a fluid state. We tend to think it's hard, stuck, and rigid because we are real and we are physical and we are firm and we are soft. And it's much more than that. It's not that. So just allow yourself to notice information that way. And if there's no difference between you and me or the things around us, what would that be like? What if you can just see them as an extension of yourself? And as consciousness, all is allowed. There is no judgment there. There are no judgments, there are only distinctions. And that's what we want to remember. Only distinctions. All right, Joan, what you notice?
There are no judgments, there are only distinctions.
Yeah.
What am I distincting? Oh, wait, I forgot to talk to my battery. Hang on.
All right. So think of that thing. And so here's a story. I use a CPAP machine, and for 2-3 years, the thing's driven me nuts. And if you use one, you might understand and appreciate where I am. And, but I use it really well. And there's been an issue. And a friend in group said to me, why don't you talk to it? And I went, oh, and slapped myself because, of course, talk to it. So I'm sitting there in the dark, and it's 11:30 at night. My husband's sound asleep, so I don't turn the lights on. And the machine is there by the bed. And I sat on the edge of the bed, and I went, oh, okay, machine. And as I just sat, I said, what would it be like if you and I could be in agreement? And I kid you not, the machine turned itself on. The blue light went on, and it started running. And I picked it up and put the mask on, and I took my first breath, and I went, oh, that's so much better. That was a real experience in my life. I just had the machine evaluated, and the guy said, this is so excellent. You only have 44 seconds a night during the night where it leaks. And then he went on and said, you're not having any episodes. And I'm like, okay. So there in a real way was what this play is all about. So maybe you can have that experience with your object. So what do you notice, Joan?
Well, I'm tuning into the battery in my laptop that I put in last December, and it is supposedly failing. And when I tune into it, it is mostly dark. I do get the information that, so what I'm frustrated with, so let me see. So the story you told actually was kind of like how you shifted things by communicating to it as consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm aware of is that my initial reaction to it is based on like assumptions, like, oh, it was probably made in China, kind of things like that. Whereas,
you're speaking the wrong language. Okay.
Exactly. I was going to say hi to it in Japanese. That wouldn't help either. So anyway, great. As I'm kind of shifting my awareness to it, I can see more life come back into it. Mm. So there's often things outside of whatever logical reason there is. So for instance, I just replaced the hard drive, and I had the hard drive failing on this laptop for over a year. I probably could have kept going, but I put a new hard drive in it that had more memory. Mm-hmm. So, the whole thing of it saying that the hard drive was failing was kind of an illusion.
Mm-hmm. So if your battery could talk to you right in this moment,
It's
What would it
speaking
tell you?
in Chinese.
And you can understand.
Oh, okay. Yes, because there are no languages.
Right. What would it like you to know?
Well, it definitely is feeling, it's feeling not healthy. It's wanting to be acknowledged.
These are important things. Okay, those are two different things. It's not feeling healthy, and it wants to be acknowledged. So right there, you got two issues. Okay, so we appreciate it and we support it.
I'm also noticing that it was asking for some rest because I'm on my laptop for 5 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
and in the middle of the night. And the other thing I tend to do, and that's probably the wrong thing to do, is that I leave it plugged in. So is that draining the battery? I'm getting a yes.
And I'm getting their circadian rhythm information present.
Oh, it needs to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, it came from China. Okay. So let's align the circadian rhythms. You hear what it's saying to you, and in an illogical way, it makes sense, right? Because this isn't about logic. This is about playing.
But it's a computer. No, yes, I know what you mean. Yes.
Yes. And I'm not even going to call it imagination because we have so much bias about the word imagination. We're going to just allow this to be real. Okay, you just had a conversation. Now, does it want you to know anything else, or does it want something from you?
I think it's acknowledgement. I think it's rest. I'm saying I think.
If you could feel.
Right. And what I'm noticing is that the energy looks brighter than when I first looked at it, when it was being kind of dark.
Okay.
So it's being a little bit more lively.
So in noticing how you feel now, does that feel different than when you started?
Yes. I don't feel quite as at odds with it.
Okay. So we'll just go with that. And we'll check in before we do this, finish the show off, and we'll see what you're noticing that way.
Sounds great.
And see how easy that is? In just allowing that to be real, you got a whole bunch of information. And whether the information is real or not, it's certainly entertaining. It puts you in a different relating to your computer. You became aware of how you are with it. And it's been very hardworking. I think that's what I sense about it.
Yes.
And it's tired. And so what it'd be like. Now, it may need to retire. Certainly, that's possible.
No, I just put a new hard drive. But in terms of the battery, I spent $40 on that battery. It's supposed to last for 3 years. Yeah.
So you can hear all the logic and all that is right there, which is great because that's real, right? We do these things. So what if we just allow for in your sense of it that it's going to get the rest it needs. And we see what happens. That's all. It'll be interesting to hear next week.
Yes.
Make sure to put the note down in the script.
Yeah.
To ask about Joan's battery.
Okay.
So what else do we notice about life out there? How does it show up? I bet we've got a lot of listeners that get vibes off of rocks and the things around them, which are living on some level. They have that vibration. But when it comes to mechanical things, and so here's another great story. We had someone who had been doing matrix energetics seminars with us, and she was a 62-year-old nurse, and she worked with autistic children, and so she really wasn't in the mindset that she could talk to something. And she called. She was supposed to come to group, and her car wouldn't start, and she has problems with the car starting. And she was all upset because the car wouldn't start. And I said, well, let's use what we know, and what if you just go in the awareness that you can talk to the car, and the car will tell you what's going on. So she went out, felt very foolish, and put the key in not in the ignition, in the door, because there was no problem there. And so she sat in the car, and she asked, what the problem was. I don't remember what she exactly said. And she heard back, blow in the keyhole. And she thought that was pretty bizarre. But she blew in where you put the key in the ignition. And the car started. Right over. Now, that's real. She was able to drive to meeting. It has nothing, and that may be a little separate from when she somehow managed to lock her keys in the car between leaving the car and walking 15 steps to my house. She realized she didn't have her keys, and so she was she got locked out of the car. The keys wanted to stay in that ignition. That was very funny to me. So, stuff happens, I'm sure everyone can relate in some way if you allow yourself to be aware. And your awareness of the child story. How often are we as children doing this unconsciously? And then we get talked out of it. We have to put it away. That ability to communicate with things.
Well, what's coming to me about this is how when you operate in the realm of consciousness, you can recognize how reality is reorganizing itself.
Yeah.
And then it has this malleability.
Mm-hmm.
And, even things like keys getting locked in cars, you can see the whimsical nature of life.
I love that word, whimsy. Right, we always use the word fun, but I think whimsy is might be a better matchup. Yeah,
Lord Peter Whimsy.
Yeah,
but yes, and whimsical, and I think of one of the attributes of consciousness is amusement.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are acting as consciousness, when we're operating as consciousness, it is an amused state. It's a playful state. It's a childlike state, because everything in this world really is for its amusement. It's an amusement park.
Right.
And so, when you're dealing with your laptop battery, or when you're dealing with your car, or when you're dealing with your rock, or whatever, your CPAP machine, it reorganizes, reality reorganizes itself to being much more playful, much more, moving more smoothly. Suddenly I'm thinking of...
Yeah, there's so much enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. I started thinking about Snow White and Whistle While You Work, and she had all the birds and the deer and 7 dwarves coming in to help her. But, in this case, you can have your vacuum cleaner and what else? What other tools that you use coming in?
Right. And then there's what, there's the empowered object. I was thinking earlier, before we went on air, about the way things do speak to us, and we have an emotional connection to something, and how we sometimes poo-poo that. But, look at a painting, for instance. A painter puts something out, express something. Or a sculptor that works with a medium of clay or steel or something and was in the flow of that. And you'll find it in the artist often. Their more awareness of how the stone, when they carved, spoke to them and things came out of it. Or, so there's that. And when you and I observe it in the museum or wherever it might be, we have this instant relationship to it. We have a connection there, and you feel something. And there's the quality of where the painting speaks to you or has a state of energy about it, and you connect to it. I think that all part of this.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, our creativity, therefore our artwork, is our language, is consciousness, and therefore it can communicate to you beyond the intellect. And so something like a painting can communicate directly, we could say soul to soul, but consciousness to consciousness, and energy to energy. So definitely, totally can rock that. Walking through an art museum, you've got different eminences of, and the energy in an art museum is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it can be. And then there's, how do you relate to technology? That might be another part of this. I mean, I myself really have an interaction with computers and cell phones and all that, and try to be at peace and with all these more electrical that are consciously set up from a human perspective, right? Yeah, and how they're replicating consciousness and whatever they're doing there, and whatever is created always has the energy of the creator in it, and it's whether it's a math perception or a certain color blue that's made or something, or a technology or a technique, the energy of the creator is always present. And so for those that can hold that level of awareness, you can feel all that stuff. And so you buy it because it's pretty, and then you get it home and you go, whoa, I don't know, and you change how you feel about things. And that's not to say the shopper who goes out and brings a bunch of stuff home and picks and chooses and returns what they don't like. I'm talking about the kind of thing where you're attracted to something, and whether it's a technique or a program or an apple or the rug, you have an initial response, and then when you spend more time with it, all of a sudden, it doesn't quite feel the way it used to. So something's going on there.
That is interesting. And then, you think of things that are mechanically reproduced, and they don't have the same sense of artistry, but that also don't have the same humanity vibration.
Yeah, right. The sense of art.
It's a knockoff.
It's a clone. Right? I mean, that's the interesting thing about cloning energy, is that does it have the consciousness present or does it have the form present? And are those two different things? And what is that? So,
well, that, yes, you see things like, Dolly the cow or whatever. It's like or sheep. I guess she was a sheep, but they clone these animals, and somebody was arranging to have their dog cloned or something. And the thing is that my assumption is you'll have the body that looks identical to your dog, but the being that's coming through the body, the consciousness that's embodying the body, is going to be a different consciousness.
And I think when you hold that level of awareness, is that present and obvious? But to someone who's not tracking that way, and we're making no judgments on that, they may not hold the awareness that that's what's happening. They see their pet, right? But it doesn't act like their pet, even if it's the same, because it's being motivated differently.
Right. Well, in the desire to have the pet back in physical form, rather than realizing that you have this pet now and you don't have to take it on regular walks.
Right. Yeah.
You have
it's already there. Right.
You're connected to that being forever and continuously, and but the missing the body of it, and that's kind of a physical level thing.
Yeah. Well, all are true, not true, real, not real. It's just different ways in what context of reality that you're interacting with information. So check in now with whatever you thought you had issue with. Do you have are you relating to it differently? We always want to go to the word relationship, right? And one of the many things I appreciated about Matrix Energetics was Richard Awareness explaining that relationship is a closed system. Everybody's assigned a role, and that follows a certain pattern when you establish that relationship. And the difference between using the word relating, and relating is an open system. And so you could have as long time that you know this person, but if you're in a state of relating, then that allows for variables. And I've always found that very useful in how we're habituated thinkers and beings, right? And so how the habit becomes its own thing, and that can be a trap. And it puts you into an established relationship. And anymore, I really am looking to relate to things because that allows me to have much more of an open perspective and have much more marvelous things come out of it.
Yeah, you're talking about, whether or not we're relating things to things through our preconceived notions,
right?
Or whether we're interacting with them as they are now. And I was also thinking about all of this as still stories within the hologram, is how I would describe it. And that everything within this hologram is a story, is a creation of consciousness, but is a story. And as consciousness, we are outside the hologram as well as in the hologram. And that's where all the magic shows up, is when we're coming from outside the hologram.
So, and it's about potential into energy, into potential. And I think that's a different viewpoint than energy into potential into energy. It's a different way of being on that continuum.
Wait, break that down. Explain it to me. What?
Well, consciousness is potential.
Okay.
And then it is also energy. And energy is something. And so you have to have potential first. That's what we're doing in heart-centered awareness, is we're accessing that sea of potential. And so everything is loosey-goosey here. And you can feel it physically if you have training to feel it that way. Or just the awareness that something has softened, and this is what we're doing in sharing this with people. And so it's before it became something. And so you articulated so well your experience with your battery in thinking, when you noticed it at first, you were coming from the perspective that it was based on your assumptions in the past. And then you shifted to the gear of, oh, okay, if this was about potential, then it can talk to me and I can feel different and relate to it differently. So if we start in recognizing that consciousness is potential, and it is also where something has become something, then we can go back, and the dance is just so fascinating to allow for that.
Yes, I would have had different words to describe it. That's why I was slowing down and contemplating. Outside of physical reality, it's all potential, because it's non-physical, and there's a thing about thoughts become things. Well, I think that's part of the spectrum. There's a spectrum from the infinite potential into form. And so the thoughts becoming things are on the way down from that expansive non-physical realm.
Okay, so what comes to mind is that here we've been looking at the things around us and the inanimate things as something we had issue with. What if we do it from the things that give you pleasure, things that give you a sense of enjoyment?
An inanimate thing that gives me pleasure? Does it have batteries?
Exactly. It has a name and a form.
Dildo wagons.
And if you don't get that context, that's okay. We do. So, and if you do, you can enjoy it with us. So the things that give us pleasure, what if you could have that conversation with it? Or whatever the form or gas it is. I don't know. So just notice that. Because there's information there too. We tend to focus on our things that are a problem or a challenge. And we really want to open up that in the sense of well-being and what consciousness is about. It's about the whimsical and the fun and the lightheartedness. And if we start from that place that we're all okay, what would it be like to feel good all the time? So look at the thing, we'll call it the thing.
Okay.
That you enjoy, and if it could talk to you, what would it want you to know?
So contemplate that. Look at the thing, what it would want you to know, and hold that thought, because we have to take a break, and we will be right back. So you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and hold that thought, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your co-host, Joan, talking here with Janet. We're talking about everything is consciousness, and we asked you to hold the thought. Now, did you do that?
I held many thoughts. Okay, what are they thinking about? Oh, about how to feel good about something and how to have it talk back, right?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. So just see how you're doing with that. It's interesting because I was just like, oh, okay, I got to think of something that gives me pleasure. And what showed up, see, now I didn't have anything in particular. What I saw was a jump rope. And I was like, really? A jump rope? And in my own story, that would be very funny if you knew that story. And I'm like, well, what would you want me to know? And it was about the pleasure I used to have skip roping, which that was just when I was a child. And what it would be like to have that pleasure again. And I can see where it might be physical or non-physical, but in that's where I enjoyed my body in that way. In that delight. So thank you very much, universe. that was a great hit. What are you noticing, Joan?
I was noticing that I forgot to hold my thought.
Well, you can go over that part real quick. Now what are you noticing?
Holding my thought. I don't know what I'm thinking. No, I have no idea. My mind is now blank.
That might be your pleasure. So,
that's right. Oh, I forgot Dildo Baggins. That's what we were talking about. That's why my mind went blank. He's at work.
Okay. So everyone, just notice what it'd be like to be in a unspoken. I mean, you don't have to speak it out loud. You know, you can keep this to yourself and just relate to those things around you, whether you're in your cubicle at work and or your car or wherever you might be in life, find yourself, what it'd be like to be in this space. Now, this helps if you're in this heart-centered awareness, because you can probably feel the difference. And allow that. So just take a moment, you go, let me go to heart where Joan and Janet reside, and it feels good. Okay, feel that. All right, if I could talk to that door over there that keeps catching all the time, where's the issue? What does it want me to know? And see what happens.
Is this a door that gives you pleasure?
Or it was popping up that there was something about the door. So, and it could be a portal. It could be, I don't know. It may not.
I like portals.
Yeah,
portals are good.
Their portals are good. They can be for good or they can be challenging. So
no. Everything's good. Don't program them with bad portals. They're good portals.
Yeah.
Because actually, I have found when playing on this level of consciousness is that it's a benevolent universe.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there's really actually not a matter of stepping through the wrong portal. It's always opening, it's expanding to a new possibility.
Well, I think that's probably a part of it, is that everything is kind of neutral. And it's what you bring to it, right? Whether it's good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever. And so consciousness is, this is just, here it is, with no judgment on it. And so how do you use it? How do you use the door? And how are you with having a door and that portal? So it's not the portal, it's how you respond, how you react. So good stuff. Good stuff
Yes.
to think about.
Yeah, well, so go forth this week and talk to rocks and communicate to your microwave and your iPad and see what happens.
Can't lose, what's it worth? A couple of seconds, and it might really save you some money and some time and energy, I suppose. So what are we talking about next week, Joan?
Next week, we are talking about competition and the energy of consciousness, recognizing what competition is and when it is affecting you, and when is it useful, when is it not. So tune in next week to learn how to bring out the best in you and others.
Yeah, that'll have a lot to it.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really inherent in us, survival of the fittest, and it sets us up. So that'll be good. That's a lot to look forward to.
Yes, it's like, and then, is there consciousness, is there competition, beyond the survival level of it. So let's not launch into that. We had a great discussion planning that this morning. It's like, we should be recording this. So, ways to go deeper with us and connect with us beyond the show. Our website is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can go to listen to the podcasts of our radio shows here. You can also access Janet's and my individual websites. You can read our blogs. Janet puts hers out on Mondays. I put mine out on Fridays. You can learn about our meetups. Janet does hers in Portland on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. I do mine all around the Puget Sound, mostly on the weekends. So you can find out more about that. And there's a bit about our sessions there, that you do individual sessions from the comfort of your home to people all around the world, spreading joy and happiness. And I do the same. I'm actually more focused at this time on coaching people and in groups with more of a teaching focus. Coaching and teaching is what I'm about. Having people, giving the people the tools to navigate life as consciousness and step into parallel universes and do fun things like that. A reminder that the show is on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Janet's on Facebook, Janet Barrett. I'm on Facebook, Joan Newcomb. I'm on Twitter at Joan Newcomb. And the show is on Twitter at Joan and Janet. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. We are on YouTube, and I am on YouTube. I have lots of groovy stuff on YouTube. Also, you can find this all out on the Facebook page. I want to remind folks that you can also connect with me this weekend in person. If you are in the Puget Sound area or feel like flying here, come and see me at the Emerald Spiral Expo in Kent. I have a booth there. I'm going to be doing consciousness sessions. I am going to be doing a workshop at 1:00 about rediscovering your purpose and regaining your passion for life. It should be very powerful. You want to tell them about the Conscious Conference Call?
And our conference call is always fun, always interesting and enlightening. It's the third Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific of the month. Next one is going to be, October 20th at 7 p.m. And it's a great hour of going deep, personal with what your stuff is. So, and how you utilize these skills and what we can do to help foster that. And it's a small group, people from all over the world, or certainly over the United States. And, we're all one. And we're just reinforcing that in practical. There is no time, there is no space, and it's really just a fun dynamic. So I heartily recommend it.
Yes. Yes. Lots of fun dynamics. And let me see, anything else we want to tell the boys and girls in consciousness land?
Yeah, well, let's see. I have heard and experienced so many different things over the years. It's just been marvelous about people playing, whether it's with the weather or the tub of coleslaw that got hidden somewhere and it's there, when the people say it's not. And just enjoying driving down the road and having my husband say, how do you, you've commented 10 times in one block about all these wonderful things around you. And just being able to notice that and what a difference that makes in the life. And that you can enjoy yourself in this place, no matter what it seems like out there. We are geared to enjoy.
Well, lots of fun. Lots of fun. Well, you have been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and we really appreciate you regardless of when you're listening to this. You actually have helped co-create the energy today. I'm Joan Newcomb.
I'm Janet Barrett.
And thank you all for creating as
so
consciousness.
Very much. So very, very much. Enjoy yourself.
Tune in next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.